Have you ever seen the movie The Theory of Everything? It follows Stephen Hawking's life and works from being a postgraduate student at the University of Cambridge to transforming himself into a brilliant and controversial physicist.
Okay, all right, very good. Push it as hard as you can. Push it. Push it as hard as you can.
I am pushing as hard as I can. Wait, come on. 1, 2. Why won't it?
All right. Fourth finger, fourth peg. It's called motor neuron disease. It's a progressive neurological disorder that destroys the cells in the brain that control essential muscle activity, such as speaking, walking, breathing, swallowing. The signals that muscles must receive in order to move are disrupted. The result is gradual muscle decay, wasting away. Eventually, the ability to control voluntary movement is lost entirely. I'm afraid average life expectancy is 2 years. There's nothing I can do for you.
He was diagnosed with what was generally called motor neuron disease, now more specifically ALS, at the age of 21. We are First Choice Family Services, and stay to the end of this video as we spot the nuanced differences between various developmental disabilities, and in this case, intellectual disabilities. Welcome back. We have prepared a great video for you today, and we're more than sure you're going to enjoy it. But before we get into it, please ensure you hit the notification bell to stay tuned to our daily hacks and news about the DSP industry and the DD community. And if our videos help you improve your life by at least 1%, please consider subscribing or leaving a comment. Remember that we are here to serve you. What's a developmental disability? According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, developmental disabilities are conditions due to an impairment in physical, learning, language, or behavioral areas. These conditions begin during the developmental period, impact day-to-day functioning, and usually last throughout a person's lifetime. You may ask, who can be affected by developmental disabilities? The answer is they can affect anyone. According to the CDC, they can occur among all racial, ethnic, and socioeconomic groups. Recent estimates in the United States show that about 1 in 6, or about 17% of children ages 3 through 17 have one or more developmental disabilities such as ADHD, autism spectrum disorder, cerebral palsy, hearing loss, intellectual disability, vision impairment, and other developmental delays. What is an intellectual disability? An intellectual disability, as defined by the CDC, is a term used when there are limits to a person's ability to learn at an expected level and function in daily life. Intellectual disability can be caused by a problem that starts before a child turns 18 years old, even before birth. Some of the most common known causes of an intellectual disability that happen before birth are Down syndrome, fetal alcohol syndrome, Fragile X syndrome, genetic conditions, congenital disabilities and infections. Others happen while a baby is being born or soon after birth when a child is older. Intellectual disabilities can happen to anyone. It can be caused by injury, disease, or a problem in the brain. For many children, the cause of their intellectual disability is not known. Do all of those with developmental disabilities also have intellectual disabilities? Not necessarily. According to the Institute on Community Integration, ICI, the term developmental disabilities is a broad category of lifelong disability. They can be intellectual, physical, or both. Intellectual and developmental disabilities, or IDD, is the term often used to describe when intellectual disability and other developmental disabilities are present. Don't be too quick to judge or assume when you encounter a person with one type of developmental disability that he also has an intellectual disability. ALS and Stephen Hawking. At the beginning of this video, you saw a clip from the movie The Theory of Everything that tells the story of the most brilliant and celebrated physicist of our time, Stephen Hawking. He was diagnosed with ALS in 1963 at the age of 21. ALS slowly paralyzes patients. In the movie, after the doctor explains his diagnosis, he questions.
What about the brain?
The brain isn't affected. Your thoughts won't change. It's just that... well, eventually, no one will know what they are. I'm ever so sorry.
ALS doesn't affect the brain. According to the ALS Association, half of all people affected with ALS live at least 3 or more years after diagnosis. 20% live 5 years or more, and 10% will live more than 10 years. Hawking lived with the incurable disease for 55 years. In those years, he accomplished great things. He contributed to understanding gravity, studies in general relativity, the physics of black holes, and Hawking radiation. The developmental disability didn't affect his cognitive skills. In his motorized wheelchair with a computer-generated voice, he lived an extraordinary life, pursuing what he was passionate about. To end this video, let's listen to a clip of Stephen Hawking's last speech before passing away.
It became clear something was not quite right with me. I fell over and had great difficulty getting up again. My mother realized something was wrong and took me to the doctor. I spent weeks in Bart's hospital and had many tests. They never actually told me what was wrong, but I guessed enough to know it was pretty bad. In fact, the doctor who diagnosed me washed his hands of me, and I never saw him again. He felt that there was nothing that could be done. At first I became depressed. I seemed to be getting worse pretty rapidly. There didn't seem any point working on my PhD, because I didn't know if I would live long enough to finish it. I had come to Cambridge to do cosmology, and cosmology I was determined to do. Then the condition developed more slowly, and I began to make progress in my work. After my expectations had been reduced to 0, every new day became a bonus, and I began to appreciate everything I did have. And there was also a young woman called Jane, whom I had met at a party. Getting engaged lifted my spirits, and I realized, while there's life, there is hope.
Where there's life, there's hope. Stephen Hawking. And now, it's your turn to move. Get services. If you have a developmentally disabled family member who needs support, please click below or in the description to get uncompromised DSP services. Become one of our staff. Remember that the First Choice Family Services doors are always open for results-driven professionals. Feel free to show your support to the developmentally disabled community by donating or participating in our charity and campus ambassadors programs. Get involved. Be social. Finally, get in touch with us through our social media channels to be updated on the news in the DSP industry and the developmentally disabled community. And if you like this video, please share it with your friends in need of a job after you subscribe. Thanks very much for watching. And remember, First Choice Family Services is your information resource for the DSP industry. like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you can stay connected.